This show contains spoilers and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Movies with Ron, movies with Ron.
Hell yeah, motherfucker.
Movies with Ron.
Remember when I was saying Jim Carrey and Keanu Reeves should be in a movie together?
Yes?
Well, what if they switched brains?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Jim Carrey doing that?
I'll bet Jim Carrey can do a awesome Keanu Reeves.
Yep.
And I'll bet, let Keanu Reeves kind of lose himself
Yeah.
a little bit.
It'd probably change his life.
Yeah. I don't know, man. These ideas. We got to do something with this.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves comes out of it. I want to do comedy.
You have AIDS. That's that fucking Liam Neeson
Yeah.
shit. Okay. There was like a fad of people switching brains movies. What were the two? One with Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage.
Oh, yeah. That was Vice Versa. And the other one was Like Father, Like Son with Dudley Moore and Kirk Cameron.
Oh, man.
Both excellent movies.
Oh, yeah. We're kind of due for one. Welcome to episode 49 of Movies with Ron, the podcast where my older brother surprises me with a movie he saw because I don't go see him anymore, and he explains the whole thing to me from beginning to end. Keep listening and you'll end up liking his versions better. It's okay if you've seen the movie. It's okay if you haven't seen it. The experience is unique, so let's get it on. I'm Chris, your MC for the time being. With me tonight, our sound guy, Rick.
How's it going, everybody?
And get ready, folks.
He's the ball cracker, death on foot. You know him, you love him. He's Ron.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, guys. Oh, thank you for that glowing intro. I love it. Use it every time.
Hey, you know Troma?
I know him.
Yeah, nice guy.
He made Toxic Avenger, and he's got a new podcast called Troma Now Podcast.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Just a little shout out. Also, I was on Lance Henriksen's Twitter.
Oh,
Yeah. His website is notbadforhuman.com.
I love that shit. That is so cool.
I tapped on it, and then I wrote down in my notes, someone tell Lance Henriksen his notbadforhuman.com domain has expired.
Oh, shit.
It just sends you to one of those sites that's like, it's for
Aw.
sale.
Hey, you remember in Alien 3 in the background where you see that big wrought iron spiral staircase?
Yeah.
He bought that and took it home with him after they filmed.
Well,
That sounds like something he would do.
I learned that in the commentary.
it was a pretty nice staircase.
Oh, yeah, man.
I got a good look at it.
You know, some actors like Viggo Mortensen, he did Hidalgo,
Uh-huh.
and then he took the horse with him.
Yeah, bought the horse.
He's acting with that horse so long, it's basically his. So he's like, I'm not leaving without it. Lance Henriksen's like, I'm not leaving without that staircase.
Yeah. Everybody else was there. They all had shaved heads. Hey, you know what? We're making history here. This is Alien 3. And he was like, I want that. I want that staircase. Hey, speaking of shout-outs, I want to send everybody over to vhsrevival.com.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, awesome website. Great articles, reviews. They have a whole section on old VHS movie posters, right? And they specialize in movies that were all from the VHS era.
Yeah.
And every time I am on that site, guys, it is a rabbit hole of awesomeness and nostalgia,
Yeah.
and I love it. I'm usually there for hours, just going through everything. So yeah, check them out and follow them on Twitter at VHS Revival.
Hell, I'll go check them out. I got a box full of those VHS tapes.
Yeah, that's pretty much our era.
Oh yeah,
Hey, so Hellboy's getting rebooted.
yeah,
Yeah. You know who's playing him?
yes, the sheriff from Stranger Things.
David Harbour.
Yep.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm sure Ron Perlman will make a cameo.
As his dad.
Yeah. His devil dad.
Hellman. Hell dad.
The left hand of Satan. Everybody else on planet Earth is drinking the Guyana grape on Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
Like, it is a runaway smash hit, and everybody loves it because it's Guardians 2. But the more I think about it, man, the more I really dislike that movie.
Yeah. We nailed it at the end of the last episode.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
You are mine now. You belong to me.
So, guys, next week I'm on vacation. Next weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to be here. I might be back Sunday, so, listeners, we might be able to squeeze a recording in Sunday night. If not, these two fine young cannibals are going to go it alone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what's the new movie that's out?
Alien Covenant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wonder who's going to recap it.
You guys are going to have to Rochambeau. It's where you kick each other in the nuts and the first one to fall down loses.
Let's do it right now.
Gee, let me think. Sure.
You got to have the balls exposed when you do a Rochambeau.
Oh, yeah. You got to have the balls exposed.
All right. Real quick. Edge of Tomorrow, the sequel.
Yeah.
Okay? They decided on a title.
All right.
And you're not going to believe it. I hated it at first, but now I love it.
Okay.
Can we go through the story real quick? Started out as a comic called All You Need Is Kill. They're not going to make that a movie title.
Right.
They pick Edge of Tomorrow. And I don't know, no one goes to see it. The poster had Live, Die, Repeat
Yeah.
in big letters on the front.
It was the
But
tagline, right?
Yeah, but that happens. That's kind of in fashion, the tagline being bigger than the title.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it comes out on Blu-ray, and they decide to make it the official title.
Yeah.
And everyone's confused, and some guy high up was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Make it back to Edge of Tomorrow. So everyone's like, well, what are they going to call the sequel?
Uh-huh.
It's called Live, Die, Repeat, Repeat.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Yep. I like it.
Is Tom going to be in it?
Yeah, man. I think it's like, I think the aliens are going to do some shit where it sends him before the first movie.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like all for nothing.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
God, what a hellish thing. You imagine?
It might be someone different doing it, though.
You know, that
You
would
never
be
know.
an interesting concept to have.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like maybe a new character getting put in the loop.
Oh, like Tom's not going to do it.
But Tom's just going to be there for every one of the guys' lives.
I see.
The chick in the first one
Yeah. Or maybe she gets into it
Yeah,
again. I
Emily
don't know.
Blunt.
had a dude that they talked about where she was like, we're not going to talk about him. He was like, Hendrik?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds dead on.
Well, we figured it out.
Good one.
Thank you.
Let me recommend a movie real quick.
Hit it.
Mystery Men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The shoveler is hammered.
Almost as good as The Avengers.
Yes, absolutely, man.
It doesn't have that Marvel weak spot of shitty bad guys.
Greatest bad guy name ever.
Uh-huh.
Casanova Frankenstein.
Jeffrey Rush.
Yes, of course you may bring the brewskis.
It's like a superhero comedy before that was a thing.
Yep.
Greg Kinnear plays the Superman of the city.
Yeah. In a world where superheroes exist.
But there's like a ramshackle group of vigilantes.
Yeah.
Led-
Amateurs.
Yeah. Led by Ben Stiller. And here's the thing. Ben Stiller, in all these movies that he spearheads,
Yeah.
you can always see his ego going around.
Yeah.
And I think this is his best performance because it kind of speaks to that ego thing. But he's so pathetic
Yeah.
in this movie. And that ends up being his character arc. Which
Yeah.
totally, like, he has to, like, give up. you know,
Yep.
like trying to be cool.
Yeah.
And he's fucking horrible in this movie, trying to look tough.
Yep.
In front of like the waitress and stuff. Oh God, what's his name?
Mr. Furious.
Yeah, Mr. Furious. Good God. They end up, him and William H. Macy, who is the shoveler, and Hank Azaria, who is...
The Blue Raja. I take cutlery, Mother, and I hurl it. I throw it.
They end up accidentally killing Greg Kinnear,
Yeah.
the Superman of the city. And it's them against Casanova Frankenstein. They end up holding tryouts for more members of the
yeah.
group. They get like an invisible boy. They get Paul Rubens,
Yeah.
who is the spleen.
Yeah.
Laser eye.
I am scared of the Susie.
And a kick-ass soundtrack from, what's that fucking band? Smash Mouth?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mystery Men. Check it out.
Man, I love that movie.
Yeah.
May I see your invitation, please?
Sure. Here's my invitation.
So what'd you go see?
I'm going to go see Guy Ritchie's King Arthur, Legend of the Sword.
Did you laugh a lot?
Not really.
I hope I laugh a lot in this episode.
All right, I'll try.
With Guy Ritchie, it's like a mixed bag. I don't know.
It is.
Did you laugh a lot in Camelot?
I didn't see his last one, The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. But all he's doing is like old stories.
Yeah, that is true.
Now he's doing Aladdin.
Ever since
whatever.
Ever since Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, yeah. It's got Mr. Blondie in it, playing Arthur.
Yeah. What's his name? Jax. Jax from Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, that's his name. Forever.
I don't know. I rather like Blondie.
He's like,
He gets movies because of his looks.
well,
It
see,
can't be because of his performance, because they are all wooden.
he seems like,
I mean, I give you Pacific Rim.
it seems like he used to be a WWE wrestler, and then he tried to be a serious actor.
Yeah.
And then someone went into a time machine and stepped on a butterfly, and now that wrestler part is gone.
Yeah.
And that's what he seems like to me. Like he's trying, like this was his second job.
I hear you.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this.
All right, everybody, whip your sword out from in between your stones and get ready for King Arthur. What was it called?
Legend of the Sword.
On Movies with Ron.
It's showtime. Get the people out! Come on! Get the people out!
All right, so the theater was absolutely packed this time, and I have no idea why. I checked it out beforehand. This movie has a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ooh.
Okay?
Is there a mechanical owl in it?
No, man, that's the wrong story.
I'm trying to think of the animated Excalibur. Isn't there a mechanical owl in that?
That is Clash of the Titans, and I don't believe there has ever been an animated King Arthur. That
you
matters
don't know,
anyway.
You don't know of the Disney one? All right, keep going. People out there in radio land, they know there is an animated one. It's got Merlin and shit. It's like the Disney version.
That's the Sword in the Stone.
There you go.
Yeah, okay, well, it wasn't a mechanical owl in that either.
Okay. This isn't a remake, a reboot of that?
All King Arthur movies are a reboot of that.
Okay, all right.
So anyway, 23%, theater packed because of Blondie.
Man.
Yeah, and Jude Law, he's in it. So I end up having to sit way up in the back next to like 6 yuppie dudes. And I ended up having a short battle for armchair real estate with the guy next to me.
Oh, God.
And it was weird and uncomfortable.
I do not want to touch his ass.
Right? So this commercial comes on for M&M's, where the yellow M&M is in the movie theater sitting next to a fucking raccoon eating the popcorn.
Yeah.
And the red one walks up and he's like, "What the hell are you doing, man?" "Hey, look, it's Rocket Raccoon. I found him. I met him earlier." "That's not Rocket Raccoon." "Yeah, I know. It's the guy who plays him." And, you know, it's a whatever commercial, but one of these dudes sitting next to me goes, "Haha, no, that's Bradley Cooper." And I was like, "Oh, shit."
Right? Wrong.
All right, so we start off with the whole shit ton of logos, and they're all like on fire. Like they're all made out of embers, and the wind's blowing them around. They're hot. Pretty hot.
They're pretty hot.
This hot metal and embers thing, like that's the theme of all of the special effects of the magic used in the movie.
Uh-huh.
So then we see this weird tower, okay, and a little ball of red flame blows up out of the top of it for some reason. And then it just cuts to black, and there's a text crawl that's talking about, like, in a time of man and mage, they, like, used to be friends or something. And then this super asshole named Mordred decided to start killing everybody. And he is now attacking the last remaining stronghold, Camelot. And boom, we got huge elephants coming around, crashing through walls. And they are huger than the ones in Lord of the Rings.
Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of their women.
Yes, yes.
They're attacking Camelot?
Yes. All right, so these guys are, they're crashing through walls and breaking everything down. People are shooting arrows at them. Nothing's working. They are huge, man. And they have, like, big bases on their backs full of warriors, like, waiting to run out and attack Camelot. In Camelot, everybody's freaking out. So everybody's fighting, and it is crazy. It is this huge battle. And then we see the king of Camelot, and it is Eric Bana, ladies and gentlemen.
Haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was studying for this.
He's not Arthur, though?
No, he is Uther.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes. They played around with the timeline a little bit. I was always under the impression that Mordred was the illegitimate son of King Arthur with his own sister.
Oh, yeah?
Who became a big villain after King Arthur became King Arthur.
I remember that from the Disney one.
All right, so inside this elephant's, I don't know, there's a fucking giant house on the back of the elephant, all right? And inside is Mordred, and he's like a big, powerful mage. And he's got like fire all around him, and his eyes are glowing with fire. And then so are the eyes of the elephant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's like seeing through it. So there's King Uther, and he's like, yep, getting ready to go fight him. He pulls out his sword, Excalibur, which he already has.
Oh, okay.
And it starts to like glow a little white. And he's like, all right, I'm ready. And then Jude Law right next to him is like, no, sire, please don't do it. Uther pulls off his crown, hands it to him, and he's like, hold the crown. And hold it steady. Like, quit being a bitch. Let's do this. So Jude looks around, and then there is Jaimon Hansu.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love Jaimon.
So then the king is like, man, fuck this. And he just goes and runs and jumps off of this bridge, jumps right onto the side of this elephant and starts climbing up it. Like a one-man army. He's going to go take care of this shit.
Yeah.
So he's climbing up to go and get Mordred, and all of Mordred's forces are out there. You know, they're out there fighting everybody else. And Jaimon Hansu just like holds his sword up to his army, and he's just like, war! And everybody goes nuts, and then they're all blood drunk, and they all just want to kill. So Uther makes it inside of the stronghold on the elephant's back, and it's, like I said, it's full of fire and stuff, but Mordred's guards are in there, and they've all got like metal masks on and stuff, and it's also pretty hot in there. There's like embers flying around everywhere. It's a little windy. It's hot wind.
Yeah.
But Eric Bana has to like steel himself against it and fight his way to Mordred. Mm-hmm. He pulls out his sword and it starts glowing white. And it's got like embers too. You know, it's like white heat. So he ends up withstanding the magical onslaught and gets right up to Mordred and kills his ass, like almost instantly. Okay? Cuts his head right off. At that moment, everybody on the elephants is fucked. Because now he no longer has control of the elephants. So everything starts falling apart, and they have won the day. King Uther just went out there and took care of this shit in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So the elephants fall, and then all of Uther's men, Jude Law and Jaimin Hansu, they're like, oh man, what's going on? He's dead. He fell down with it. And then the smoke clears, and King Uther is just standing there at the edge of the bridge that he just jumped off. So, not only saved the day, but he escaped like a badass.
Yeah.
So then he takes Mordred's crown and, like, throws it. And then he sheaths his sword. Excalibur. And it is never once in this movie called Excalibur. It's just called the sword.
Yeah.
After that, we got him and his council, and they're all discussing, the mages, What are we going to do? Are we going to kill them all or something like that? And King Uther is like, you know what? No more killing. We're not going to kill or purge the mages anymore. Apparently there was some, final solution going on.
Yeah.
And somebody mentions Jude Law, and his character is Vortigern, and he is Uther's brother. He actually went to school with Mordred, so, you don't quite know whether to trust him or not. But he's the king's brother, so, it's all good. Okay, so later that night, Vortigern is, he's reading over some old magic tome, and he is crying like a baby. All right, his tears are getting on the pages and everything. Some guy walks up to him, and he says, are the men ready? He's like, yeah, are you sure you want to do this, man? He's like, yeah, let's do this. And then it cuts to King Uther, and he wakes his wife up. He's like, look, I got to get you guys out of here now. Something's going down.
Oh, jeez.
And, I'm not quite sure, but you guys got to get out. So let's go. So he takes his wife and his young blonde son, a young blondie. And they're escaping at night, through the secret entrances. And you can hear an attack happening on the castle. At that point, we're cutting back and forth between them and Jude Law. And he has taken his own wife down into this grotto that's underneath that tower I talked about. And he's just crying, man. He walks up to this bell and he rings it. Bong! And she's like, what are we doing down here? What are we doing down here? And he's like, yeah, this sucks, man. And then he just stabs her and kills her. Takes her and throws her into the water.
Jeez.
And then he is crying, man, and he is like scream crying. Like, he is heartbroken. And he starts ringing the bell again. Bong, bong, bong. And then you see something kind of swimming up to him in the water. But then it cuts away to Uther and his wife getting the son into a little boat.
Into the boat!
What movie is that from?
I think
I have no idea.
Conan?
I don't know.
And then all of a sudden, his wife gets speared through the back. And they turn around and there's like this giant fucking black knight.
Shit.
Like maybe about 20 feet away. And he is huge.
Good Lord.
Like he's all like hot and fiery. Okay.
Okay.
Then King Uther turns around and he's like, oh shit. And then it says, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword.
All right.
And then it cuts to a place called Londinium. Which I don't know what to think of that.
All right.
And this boat washes up on shore, and then these whores, and they are whores, they're from a brothel.
Okay.
They look in the boat, because they're down there like doing laundry. So they find this little blondie boy in the boat by himself. And they're like, oh no, let's take him in. So the whores let him live in the brothel. And we get a montage of his life growing up, and he is just a street rat, okay, running through the city, stealing money, getting into fights. He gets a little older, and he ends up like training at this like fighting school that's run by this Asian guy named George. Turns out, Jude Law has now become the new king. So as a little boy, he's like learning how to fight and stuff. And then he keeps having to see men beating the shit out of his favorite whore. And there's like nothing he can do about it. They like kick him out of the room and stuff.
Oh.
Then he gets a little older, and it shows him like fighting with George. sparring with him and everything. And then it shows him walk into the dude in his favorite horse room and just beats the shit out of him and throws him out. So it's like, yeah, now he's older and he's like protecting him.
Yeah.
All the while he's like saving up his gold coins and hiding them in a chest in the wall. So now he's like the best fighter. But every night when he goes to sleep, he has a nightmare about the Black Knight. The Black Knight is like a big, scary fucker. So then one day we see, the docks, and then all the water just totally recedes. And it's like, what the hell? What the hell's going on here? Mm-hmm. So then from up in the tower, we see King Jude, and he's like looking down at the area where the water used to be, and now there is a big stone there with a fucking sword sticking out of it. And all of his men, called the Blacklegs, they're all dressed in black and they have metal masks. They're all like, yeah, let's try to do this. They're all trying to pull the sword out, and it won't come. So he goes down into the grotto again and he rings the bell. And now we see what the creature was, and it's these 3 gross witches with like women torsos and tentacle bodies. And they're all like gross and intertwined, and they like roll up onto the shore together. And one of them is like real big and fat, and she's like, you rang? And then her 2 sisters like come out of her folds or whatever. Yeah, they're gross. And the fat one's like, oh, still so handsome, my king. And he's like, hey, we had a deal, okay? If you spill the blood of a loved one in these waters, you get whatever you want. And she's like, oh, we kept our part of the bargain, man. But, you're the one who lost the boy and lost the sword. Okay, so it's going to happen. It is a prophecy that boy is going to come back and try to reclaim the throne. Okay, so all you have to do is find the boy, kill him, and then the sword will belong to you. And he's like, yeah, okay. And she's like, and hey, if you need any more help from us, you know the price. And he's like, yeah, okay. So now we're back in the brothel, and they get a visit from some of the king's men. And they are looking for a dude who like jumped off of one of the king's barges, because what it turns out is that the king is collecting everybody of the approximate age of Uther's son, and he's making them try to pull the sword from the stone. And he's got a whole shit ton of guards sitting around it, ready to kill the fucker, if he's able to pull the sword out.
Okay.
And when you have tried to pull it out and failed, they brand you so that everybody will know you've already been counted. So this guy like escaped it or something, and they're all looking for him. And this guard that's in the brothel is like, yeah, we shot him with an arrow, so he'd be bleeding. And Blondie is walking around the room, and he's like, yeah, what are you guys doing here? And then all the whores and all of the Johns are all just like, scared of the king's men. And they're all looking down, and the Johns are all like ashamed of being caught there, I guess. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But Blondie looks over, and he sees a little puddle of blood on the floor, and he looks up, and he sees this guy. So then he looks at the guard, and he's like, yeah, so what would happen to the people who were hiding this guy? They were like, yeah, we'd probably treat him just like the guy, so, probably kill him slow. And then he's like, oh, okay. And then he turns to the dude in the shadows who's bleeding, and he's like, it looks like you are not welcome here, buddy. And then the guards see him, so they're like, get him! So then they get him. Turns out this guy is a major character, and his name is Goose Fat Bill. Because he's always slipping through the fingers of everybody who catches him. So the guard is not done here, and he's like, I gotta ask you about something else, Blondie. I want you to tell me about a girl named Lucy. Your favorite whore?
Yeah.
And tell me about the Vikings. Now, there was a scene where he wakes up Lucy, and she's got a big old black eye. He's like, yeah, hey, I went and talked to those Vikings that did that to you, and they have offered you this in apology. And he throws her like a bag of gold coins. Yeah. She's like, how the hell did you get money from Vikings? And he goes, I asked them for it. Mm-hmm. So now the guard wants to know that story. So now we get a real fast-paced Guy Ritchie sequence of Blondie telling that story. And it turns out that Blondie and his buddies, they're all like the Cockney street thugs of Londinium. All right? And they're running these streets. Nobody gets one past them.
Yeah.
I might also add that Blondie is not yet wearing his Bane coat. So it shows him talking to the Viking king or leader, and he's like, "Yeah, you guys hurt my friend. You know, I'd like some compensation for that." And the guy's like, "Get out of here, kid. You know, you're unarmed, and we're all just gonna kill you." He's like, "Yeah, okay." Then the guard he's telling the story to is like, "Yeah, but you had a knife. Where'd you get the knife?" He's like, "I borrowed it from some fat ass." And then it shows that fat ass get shot with an arrow in his leg. And once that commotion happens, he grabs a knife off of that guy and then jumps up to the leader of the Vikings and has it up to his throat. He's like, "Yeah, so now I'm going to leave here with a year's wages for her." And the guy's like, yeah, okay. And then he cuts off that dude's long-ass beard. Like a big insult, you know?
Yeah.
Then the guard is like, "Yeah, well, there's a problem, man. Those Vikings, they are under the protection of the king." And Blondie is like, "Oh, shit, man." At that point, we cut to the king watching all of these people try to pull the sword out. And he's like, he's upset that they haven't found the guy yet, the son. And he looks over at his aide, whose name is Maggie, and he's like, "Maggie, do the people love me?" And she's like, and it's obvious that nobody loves him because he's such a cruel asshole. She's like, "Well, I love you, my lord, and, if I speak for the people, then yes." And he's like, "Okay." So, Blondie's having a nightmare about the Black Knight again. And we see a little bit more of it this time. We see the Black Knight actually take a big swipe at his dad, King Uther.
Yeah.
So obviously we're going to be fed little bits and pieces of it throughout the film.
Okay.
So then he gets woken up, and it turns out the Blacklegs are coming to get Blondie. And his buddy's like, go now, man. So he's escaping, and he ends up intercepted by the Blacklegs. And they're like, "Hey, show us your brand, man." And he doesn't have one. So they take him and they put him on a boat with a whole bunch of other assholes, and they put him in line. And it's a big, long line.
Oh, jeez.
So he's looking at it, and he's like, "Man, what the hell is going on?" And then he just goes, "All right, excuse me," and just walks to the front of the line. And everybody's like, "Hey, man, hey." And he just turns around and looks at him. And they're too scared of him. They just let him do it.
Yeah.
So he walks up to the front, and he's like, "All right, come on, where do you want me?" And the leader of the guards there is like, "Listen, asshole, put your both hands on the sword. Try to pull it out, and then fucking get moving. Go get your brand and leave. Back on the boat." So he puts his hands on the sword, and then it starts glowing white hot. And the guards, they're like not even paying attention really, because they're so bored.
Yeah.
So then he starts to pull it out real slow, and we get big triumphant music happening. He pulls it out. The guards see what's happening, and they're like, "Oh, shit! Kill him! And then he just faints. Because, the power was too much for him.
Oh, wow.
And it cuts to the king, and he's already been told that they found the guy, and he's like, so what kind of a guy is he? Check his penis. Is it bigger than mine? All right, so Blondie wakes up in his cell, and the king is already in there, watching him sleep. Yeah, and he's like, "So, you're the son of Uther Pendragon." Which, remember, is the king's own brother. Yeah. So they are uncle and nephew, all right? And Blondie's like, "No, man, no way. No, man, I'm just the bastard son of a prostitute, man. You don't want me. I'm nobody special." And he's like, No. Only the son of Uther Pendragon could have pulled that sword out, that stone, man. It's like, "No, seriously. Look, I'm nobody. I have never had any power. I don't have any desire for power. I don't want to take your kingdom, man." He's scared. And he's like, "Listen, I can just drift away, okay? You never hear from me again." And the king's like, "Nope." "Because while you were sleeping, we went ahead and raided your brothel. Okay? And, all those whores that you've been taking care of and everything? We trashed the whole place. We searched it, and we found your coffers." Because remember, he was hiding away gold. All the gold he ever made, he was sticking it in chests and hiding it in the wall. So it shows him find it, and it's now it's a huge treasure that he's been saving up. So they just took it all. And Blondie is like, "Shit." And the king's like, "What on earth could have given you such drive? What kind of a man would you be if I hadn't robbed you of your birthright? What kind of a king would you be? Yeah, you're special. You got drive. Yeah, you are quickly becoming a legend around here. Everybody's heard about you. So then it cuts to old-ass Simon Hansu. And he's getting a visit from some weird girl, and it turns out that she's a mage. And he's like, yeah, you were sent by Merlin, weren't you? To be his guide. And she's like, yeah, and you're going to help me. Merlin never shows up in this movie.
Okay.
So now outside the castle is a crowd of thousands of people that have all come to see this, the rightful heir to the throne be put to death by the evil king.
Okay.
The king's like inside getting dressed, and they bring in Blondie. And the king starts talking to him. He's like, I will show them power and dignity. You will show them lies. I really don't care, but as long as they fear me, okay? Because when men fear you, it's intoxicating. It just takes over. And then he says, yeah, it was really a nice thing you were doing, defending the honor of those whores. It's just a pity it had to be at the expense of my Viking guests. So then they bring in Lucy, his favorite whore. And the king just walks up and slits her throat.
No.
And so Blondie, I guess Lucy was kind of like his mom. So Blondie goes nuts, and he's crying and stuff. And he's like, now here, look at all the other whores that I brought in with me. All right? They are all going to die too if you don't walk out there, put your head on that block, and die like you're supposed to.
Shit.
Yeah. So Blondie's like, yeah, okay. So they take him out front, and the crowd's all watching. And then the captain of the King's Guard is like, yeah, behold, your born king. Look at him. Look at how special he is. Well, king, go ahead. Declare yourself. Here's your sword. And they hold up Excalibur, and he's like, just standing there, because he doesn't want the horse to get killed. And now we see the block and the axe and the executioner.
Is it the Black Knight?
No.
Oh.
So yeah, it's beheading time. And they tie his hands and they put his head on the block. That guy walks up, raises up the axe, and now we see up in the air there's a giant eagle. Again, like in Lord of the Rings.
Okay, so it's like really giant.
Nah, it's not that giant, but it's bigger than normal eagles.
There you go. Does anyone ride it?
No.
Okay.
And then we see off in the distance that mage girl. She's got eagle eyes. So now she's doing that same trick that Mordred did with the elephants, where she can see through the eyes.
Okay.
So she's making this spell, and she's controlling this eagle, and now all the other animals around start going crazy. Like, there's a couple of horses out in the crowd, and they're like, "Roar!" And but the guards have like big dogs with them, and they start going nuts. And one of them gets off of the leash and like goes for the executioner, and they start defending Blondie.
Okay.
All of a sudden, so all that hell breaking loose, the king and the Blackleg guards, they retreat into the castle. So then Jaime Hansu's men come in and save Blondie. All right, they untie him, and then they run with him. One of them picks up the sword, okay, that the guard had dropped, and then they are running through the crowd, and they're helping him escape. So there's still some guards out there, and they're like trying to kill him, but then his other men are like shooting them with arrows, and it's a big, chaotic escape. And then they all run out to the edge of this cliff. There's the mage waiting for them, and then they all just jump off of the cliff, and it is like hopelessly long way down into the river. But the funny part is that the guards that are chasing them, they run out and they stop at the edge of the cliff, and they're looking down, like, damn it, they got away. And then one of the guards kind of pushes another one, just a little bit, and it scares him. And then he turns around and hits them, like it's like a fucking prank.
You son of a bitch.
So now they're taking a trip, cross country through the forest, and they're going to see Jaime Hansu. And the mage is there, and she's all quiet. And Blondie is like, "Yeah, so you're a mage, that's cool. Are you falling for me like I'm falling for you, baby?" And then she all of a sudden makes his horse buck him off. He's like, "Yeah, that's a nice trick. Teach it to me sometime." "That's cool, you're a mage, though, but, I thought you'd be taller and, have a longer beard." Finally, they make it to this secret cave, And inside is Jaime Hansu. And he's like, yeah, it's cool, but I just want to go home, man. And they're like, nah, man, you're stuck here. Everybody that you knew, they all ran because, they didn't want to be killed because of you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have no home and no friends back there. Now you're stuck here. But we are much more interested in what you can do with that sword, buddy. So it turns out that they are the rebellion fighting against the Empire.
With a lightsaber.
Absolutely. In the room with Jaime is Goose Fat Bill. And he's like, yeah, Blondie, so, think you're a good fighter, huh? Why don't you put up or shut up? And he takes off his ring, like he's getting ready to fight him. And then Blondie just looks at him and goes, why don't you put your ring back on, honey tits? You didn't have enough porridge this morning to talk to me like that. So then Jaime brings him out into the center of the cave, and he's like, yeah, all right, here you go. Come on, see some shit. And Goose Fat Bill is like, all right, let's fight. And Blondie's just like, listen, guys, I'm not a fighter. I don't know what you heard, okay, but I under no circumstances am I going to fight you. And then Goose Fat Bill just slaps him across the face. And he's like, oh. And Bill's like, see, that would have hurt a lot more. Was I still wearing the ring? He's like, yeah, I'm still not going to fight you. And then he just immediately starts fighting them. And he takes them all by surprise, and they're all rubbing their jaws and shit. Like, oh, okay, he knows what he's doing. So now they pick up swords, and they throw Excalibur to Blondie. The second he picks it up, it starts glowing white hot. And then he gets a vision inside of his head of the Black Knight. Okay, and we see the Black Knight's face, and he's got like this big skull mask on. And he is really fucking scary looking. And then Blondie faints again. Can't handle the power. So then now he's like sleeping. They're letting him sleep. And the mage is like burning sage and sprinkling crap over the sword. And somehow she is able to witness his dream, which is the same old Black Knight killing his mom.
Yeah.
He wakes up and she's like, you're resisting the sword. And he's like, nah, man, no, I'm not. I'm just not special. She's like, yeah, you don't sleep too well, do you? And he's just like, yeah, I guess not. She's like, what if you can make those nightmares stop? Now it shows her talking to Jaime, and she's like, he needs the Darklands. And Jaime's like, no way. We are so not doing that. And then it cuts to him looking at Blondie going, welcome to the Darklands. And everybody in the theater laughs. So it turns out the Darklands is like the trial by fire place for all mages. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it is full of oversized animals. And they are all pretty dangerous. And like we just kind of get like this montage of him walking through. And it's like really bad weather. He's not having the easiest time. Then he gets attacked by this fucking snake. And it's coming after him. And it's like a normal snake, but it's, it's just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
It is, okay, in real life, you would just die of fright.
Like Conan big?
Not that big.
Okay.
So he's running from it, and then all of a sudden, it gets picked up in the talons of this huge fucking bat. Okay? And this bat's like flying around, and then another one comes down and picks up Blondie, and is like flying away with him.
Oh, jeez.
So he's trying to fight it, and then it'll show him like washing himself off in the river, and then he gets attacked by giant rats. And he's got to fight him off, and they're biting him and everything, and he is like having a really hard time in these Darklands. So the mage had told him, you got to take your sword, go to the center of the Darklands, and touch it to the altar in the middle, and then you will see the full vision of your future and what you're supposed to be doing. He'll gain enlightenment. Okay.
Okay.
So he's out there alone, and he's fighting all this crap. Okay. And then it shows again what happened to the bat that was carrying away the big snake. All of a sudden in this new cave that he's in, the bat is carrying the snake away and then immediately gets swallowed by a fucking giant mother snake, which is bigger than the Conan snake. I mean, it is huge. It is like as big around as a car.
Okay.
It's like a big SUV. Like, that's how thick it is.
Yeah.
It was fucking scary. And he just like runs away. So he's running and he finds this altar and he's heading for it. Now he's being chased by wolves. just as they're about to get him, he touches the sword to the altar, and then he gets visions, okay? And it's his nightmare again, and we see the Black Knight kill his mother, and then we see his father look at him as a little boy and say, "Wait here, son." And then he turns around, pulls his sword, and he goes to fight the Black Knight, who is walking up to him with a huge, double-ended scythe. Okay, and this Black Knight is like twice the height of a normal man. And he's huge, man. It's all big, dark, and scary. So they fight, and Uther ends up losing his sword. It gets, like, knocked out of his hand. And then the little boy in the boat picks up the sword by the blade and hands it to his father. When his father pulls it out, it cuts the little boy's hands. After he comes to from the vision, he looks at his hands, and we see he's got these scars in the palms of his hands.
Mm-hmm.
He's had his whole life, I guess. Now he knows how he got them. So he's got the sword, but he's so beaten down by the Black Knight that he's like on his knees. And, Knight's pretty much got him. And then Uther just takes the sword and just throws it straight up into the air. And he's on his knees, and he puts his head down, and then the sword just comes down and stabs right into his back. Threw the sword up, and then let it kill him on its way down.
Oh, wow.
All right? Now, as it does that, it kills him. He then turns to stone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was really cool. So then the Black Knight, all of a sudden, like, starts smoking and stuff, and then reverts back to his original form, which is his brother Jude Law.
Oh.
And that was the power that he bargained for with his dead wife. The power to take over King Arthur.
Okay.
Or the power to take over the kingdom.
Yeah.
At that point, the Stone King is now too heavy for the dock that it's on, and it just falls straight through it into the water. And there it stayed until the water receded like 20 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that, I would really love to go back and watch it to see if the stone was shaped at all like the king before. But, it had obviously eroded because...
Yeah.
Moreover, in this vision, we learned that Jude Law and Mordred had actually made a deal, okay? That they were going to share power once Jude Law defeated King Uther. But Uther ended up killing Mordred, so now Jude Law was like, all right, sweet.
Okay.
Now I can take the whole thing.
There you go.
So Jude Law and Mordred were mages, but there was a king of the mages that they killed in order to go on this rampage. But Merlin had stolen the staff of that mage king and went and had it melted down and forged into Excalibur. Then he took it and gave it to the lady in the lake, who then bound it to the Pendragon blood.
Okay.
Therefore, the sword then actually belonged to Uther and then any of his heirs.
Yeah.
So he's back from his vision quest, and his two buddies from the beginning of the movie that he was like running the streets with, they show up and they came to visit him. And they're like, yeah, your home is burned, half the neighborhood was slaughtered, and everybody's pretty much fucked. So thanks, dude. He finds out that, and he's like, I'm gonna kill him. And all of a sudden, whoa, now he's got the steel resolve. Now, no longer is he like, I'm not a hero, I'm not special, I'm just a street rat. Now he's gonna get things done.
Yeah.
All right?
Bust him up! Bust his chops!
So now they're trying to come up with a plan. And they're like, oh, we need a whole bunch of troops. And Blondie's like, no way, man. All we need is the people in this room. There's like 12 guys. We're cool, all right? We can take down the whole kingdom, which is 12 guys.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to think, what does Jude Law want more than anything? And somebody's like, to finish his tower. Okay? His tower of power. Which is still under construction. So now it shows them like, remember in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, where they had a montage of them like robbing people on the road and stuff?
Yeah.
Screwing things up. So they start doing that. They cut off the supplies of the stones to the tower, and then they like free all the slaves, which are all like little boys. And they burn down one of the king's favorite palaces. So now it shows the king, and he's like tired of all this shit happening. All right, so now he has brought the Vikings back, and he's cutting a deal with them. He's like, yeah, if you stop all this shit, I will give you like, hundreds of troops, and you can have control of the north, quadrant. And the Viking is just like, yeah, I guess. And the king's like, is there a problem? Well, yeah, man, we've been hearing about this, this kid with the sword. There's like prophecy, and I'm just wondering, are those troops really yours to give away, sir? And they're all like, you dare question the word of the king? And the Viking is just like, yeah, okay, sorry. All right, you got a deal, man. It's cool. He's pretty powerful. We'll just work with him. I meant no disrespect. So then the mage girl actually witnesses Blondie in the woods, like, trying to use the sword by himself and, like, practice. Because remember, he cannot even really hold it without fainting.
Yeah.
And every time he touches it, he gets the visions of the nightmare and everything, and he ends up dropping it. So she's like, yeah, in your vision, that you had on the altar, did you see everything? And he's like, yeah, what do you mean? Yeah, you sure you didn't look away so that you could not have to come to terms with everything?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't know. Okay, maybe. So like his whole vision quest might have been for nothing. So then the king's aide, Maggie, shows up, and turns out she's part of the rebellion too. And she tells them that the king is coming to Londinium. So now they have an assassination to plan. And they're all talking about, well, how far away can you shoot with an arrow? How good are you? And this guy's like, 75 yards. And Goose Fat Bill is like, 175, bitch. And they're like, no way. And it cuts to him showing them. Like these two dudes are walking through the forest with a target. And they're like, is this 175 yards? I don't know. I can't even see them anymore. Yeah, it's cool. We can't see them. They can't see us. We'll just say that this is it. And then an arrow hits the target right in the bullseye. Mm-hmm. So we know that Goose Fat Bill can shoot. So now the king arrives in his boat. Goose Fat is up in a window with Blondie and everybody else. And they're like, yeah, get ready to shoot. Okay, this is it. He's going to come out of the boat. It's cool. It's cool. Now inside the boat, the king is talking to Maggie, and he reveals that he knows she's a traitor. So now, from far away, the king is walking out of the boat, and Blondie's like, wait a minute, something don't smell right, man. Something's wrong. And then he sees his buddy Backlack down in the town square, who's like giving him the, no, stop, it's no good signal.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, it's a trap, man. It's a trap. Don't do it. Now we see the king, and it's not the king. It's like a stunt double. And he's talking to the captain of the guard. He's like, I'm just a target, aren't I? And the captain's like, yeah, God, you are a buffoon. Just shut up. Don't turn around. Don't let him see your face. So then Bill, who actually hates that captain of the guard, decides to go ahead and kill him anyway. So he does that, and now they raise the alarm and everything, and they all have to run. Guards are panicking. Everybody's going crazy, looking for him. So they're sneaking through the streets and killing guards as they go. And of course, Guy Ritchie, so it's like all cool music playing, and they're running real fast. Mm-hmm. And we got these shots that are like Steadicam shots, where you just see the actors' faces real close, but the camera is like locked onto their face. So all the background of the shot is like really shaky, but their faces are like totally still.
Yeah, that's Guy Ritchie.
Yeah. So now they hide, and it turns out that Backlack is, he's hurt. He's got an arrow wound. They end up running to the fighting school run by Asian George. And the girl mage is like, they need your help, man. And he's like, yeah, okay. So he lets all of them inside the school. And the mage, like, conjures a whole bunch of birds out of the sky, and they're attacking guards and everything. She's trying to help. Mm-hmm. So all these other guards, they're trying to get into the school, banging on the doors and everything. And Blondie opens up a hole to the sewer. And he's like, all right, everybody down here, let's all just escape. And nobody will do it. They're all like, no, it's cool. When they break in, we will fight them. And Asian George is like, yeah, all of my students, they've been training for this their whole life. It's cool. We're going to protect you, man. You go ahead. And then Blondie's like, God damn it. All right, fine. So then he shuts it, and then he steadies himself and gets ready. And they finally break in, and then everybody just starts killing. Like, no remorse. So the Blacklegs have swarmed inside, and they're all trying to fight him off and everything. And then Blondie looks over and sees that one of them has taken the mage girl hostage. And he's like, oh, hell no. And he pulls out his sword and grabs it with both hands. And then it glows white, and he is able to hold it and control it. And he fucking lays waste to every one of these assholes like Sauron did at the beginning of fucking Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like, he just waves it in the air, and it's like hurricanes. Okay, and all these guys just die. It's fucking crazy. At the end, and it only takes like a few swipes, and they are all dead. All of his buddies are still just standing there. And they are just like totally dumbstruck, like staring at him with their jaws on the ground. And he's done, but he's like all like, out of breath. Yeah. Yeah. And they're all just watching him, and he's like, okay. And he puts his sword away, and he's still all breathing real loud. And he walks over to the sewer hole, and he opens it up, and he's like, all right, I'm going to go down the hole now. And they're all like, yeah, okay, let's go. So now they go through the tunnels, and they make it into some house, and they decide to wait there until dark, and then they're going to escape by boat. So now the mage is talking to Blondie, and she's like, yeah, hey, you held the sword. You were controlling it. He's like, nope, it was controlling me. I did not know what I was doing. Everybody else is like, yeah, people saw what happened today, what you did with that. And they are all like, okay, it is the legend. He is a badass. Maybe we should join the rebellion and start fighting against the king's men. So that's happening out in the streets. There's like rioting going on.
Oh, okay.
And they're all doing it in the name of Blondie. In the name of Blondie.
Blondie.
And he's like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want that. Okay? I'm not a hero. Finally, Backlack makes it in, and they are also running around with Backlack's son, who is a little boy. But he's like, helping the rebellion. He's doing good. So he's worried about his dad, and they're like, okay, we gotta go. And Backlack is like, nope. You know what? Leave me here. It's cool. I'll catch up. So they take the kid, and they're all out in the boat. As soon as they walk out the back door of the house, the king and his men walk in through the front. And it's like, oh, holy shit, that was so close. And the king is like, yeah, we had some tracking dogs, and we tracked a blood trail away from the assassination attempt on my life, and we followed it here. So you're bleeding. You wouldn't happen to know this guy that we're looking for, would you? And he's like, no. And then his son runs inside to get him. And the king is like, whoa. Who's that? He's just a boy. You know, he works here. He looks at the kid and he's like, who is this guy to you? Never seen him before in my life, sir. So you won't mind if I cut off his ears? The guy's like, what? The kid's like, well, they're not my ears. Go ahead. So the king pulls out a fucking knife, grabs that guy's ear, stretches it out, is about to cut it off when the kid finally gives in and it's like, no, my daddy.
Oh.
And then the king just goes like, fucking boys. And then cuts the guy's ear off anyway.
Oh, jeez.
And he is like, he actually holds the ear up and talks into it. And he goes, now, where can I find that guy? Right then, Blondie runs in to go and get the boy and then sees the king in there. So now everybody sees each other. They all know they're fucked.
Yeah.
Right then, Backlack, who has no ear, just screams out, take the boy and gut! And then his throat is cut by the king.
Oh.
So then Blondie just grabs the kid and runs out. And they go out and jump into the boats and they actually get away. And the kid is just screaming, no!
Into the boat!
So the king is like, he turns to his men and he's like, crush the resistance tonight. So it cuts back to, the safe cave. Now it's a pretty cool part. The little boy is sleeping and Blondie's watching over him and he's just like thinking. He's thinking about all the death that has happened so far. He's thinking about his mom getting killed, his dad, his buddies and the whore. And he decides that this is too much. Too many people are dying because of him, and he doesn't want this shit anymore. So he runs out to a lake, and he takes the sword and just throws it. Throws it into the water. Anybody who even remotely knows the story of King Arthur pretty much figures what's going to happen. So we see the sword sinking down into the water, the dark black water. And then there's this white lady's hand who grabs the hilt. And then we see Blondie, and he's like, running away, running away from his life and his responsibilities. Just raining. Okay? He's running through the mud, and then he falls onto his knees, and his hand goes into this puddle. Then all of a sudden, he, like, feels something down in the puddle. Okay? And then a lady's hand comes up out of the puddle and drags him down into it.
Oh, jeez.
Right into the mud in the middle of the forest.
All right.
Which is now nowhere near the lake that we just saw her in. Now we see from her point of view, and he is being dragged down under the lake. Okay? He's just in the black water. And she's like this beautiful blonde. And her hair is all like floating around and everything. And she's like, let me show you what your uncle will do if you do not accept this sword. And then she gives him visions of like, death and destruction everywhere. So it's going to be the end of the world if he doesn't fucking take the sword and go. And her last words to him are, trust the mage girl. Then we see that he is still just kneeling in the mud in the forest, and his hand is in the puddle. Mm-hmm. And when he pulls his hand out, he is holding the sword. Then he's like washing off, and all of his buddies are like, so what's going on now? And he's like, well, now we take the castle, and we are going to go right in through the front door because, now I want to help again. And he's like, hey, where's the mage girl? Is she back in the cave? And they're like, yeah, let's go talk to her. They go back to the cave. Everybody in the cave is dead. Oh. There's no girl. There's no little boy. But there's a guard there. And he's like, yeah, I got a message for you from the king. Be at the castle by dawn, or both the girl and the boy are going to be killed. Okay? All right, I'll see you guys. So the next morning, Djimon Hounsou walks into the throne room, and he brings Excalibur. The king's like, what the hell, man? It's like, yeah, Blondie will show up when you let the girl go. Now, remember, this is his sword, so he's no threat to you without it. So let her go, and then he'll show up. So the king does. She leaves, and then she goes and finds Blondie, and she's like, okay, I'm going to do something to you. It's kind of a magic thing, there's chemicals involved. All right, I have this snake venom, okay? And she's like holding a vial of it in her hand. She's like, when you take this, it's going to let you see what no one else can see. It's going to let you feel what no one else can feel. It's just the shit from Big Trouble in Little China. All right? You're about to go into a battle. This is what you need. And it's going to last for hours, okay? And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll take it. So he goes to grab the vial of snake venom out of her hand, and then right then, the actual fucking snake comes out of her sleeve. It's fucking scary. And it crawls up his arm. And he's like, oh God. And he says to her, I don't like snakes. And she goes, no one likes snakes, man. It's fine. The snake comes up onto his shoulders, curls around his neck, fucking bites right into his neck. And she's like, let it happen. Stay with me. And he's like, She's like, come on, stay with me, baby. You're fine. And then the poison starts doing its work, and he starts like tripping. And he's like, now it shows him on his way to the castle. He's like walking through the forest, and in the trees are like beautiful naked women made out of tree bark. And everything looks normal, but it's like a little bit crazy. Mm-hmm. Like he's walking up to the castle, and he sees the guards. And they're like the normal, black leg guards with the metal masks. But now their eyes are all like glowing with fire. As he's walking into the castle, we see the mage has control of an eagle again. And it is carrying another snake. A big snake. Like the one he fought in the beginning in the Darklands. And he's walking in. He's talking to the king. And now the eagle drops the snake like on one of the top spires of the castle. And the snake just slithers inside. And the snake is up in the top of the throne room, and it's like, snaking down in the back of the room, sneaking up behind the king. It's like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing, Blondie's really just distracting the king until the snake can bite him and kill him. Uh-huh. So that's cool. So the king is holding Excalibur. Blondie's talking to him, and he is indeed distracted. Now the snake goes to strike. And the king is like, oh, nope, too fast, too good. He turns and he cuts it in half in midair, and he ends up embedding the sword into the pillar behind him. And then he turns and he looks at Blondie, and he's like, yeah, bitch. You see that? And then the castle starts rumbling. And they're all like looking around at each other, like, what the hell's going on? And the king looks at Blondie, like, we're real confused, like, what the hell is happening? And Blondie's just like smiling and nodding, uh-huh. And then the giant goddamn mama snake comes into the castle to go rescue its baby. And it is so huge, it like completely fills up the throne room. And it's just like whipping around, laying waste to everybody, biting them. And when this snake bites you, like one fang goes through your heart and the other goes through your dick. You know? It kills the captain of the guard. And it's all crazy. And the king fucking escapes. And now it has killed everybody else in the room except for Blondie. And it like rears up and looks at him. And he's just standing there. The whole time he was just standing still in the middle of the room, letting the snake be a hurricane around him.
Yeah.
And then it just like backs away and leaves. So now it's just Blondie and the king. He's got to go find him. King runs down to the grotto, rings the bell, talks to the witches. One of them, the fat one, just goes, "You know the price, man. Come on, come on." So then the king, who his face is covered in blood from all of his buddies, walks up to his daughter's bedroom. She's in there with a couple of friends. He's like, "Bitches, leave." His daughter's like, "Well, what, Dad? What's going on?" And he starts crying again. And he's like, "Man, this sucks." And she's like, "Dad, you're scaring me. What's going on here? You know, come on, really. What's happening? What's happening downstairs? You know, I heard some commotion." And he's like, "Yeah, totally." And stabs her to death. Kills her right there in his arms.
Yeah.
So he's crying. But, you know, and just before he killed her, he was like, "I love you very much." So he stabs her, and then he's like, screaming! And you can see, like, yes, the price of what he has, what he has achieved in his life might not be worth it. So now Blondie's he's going for the king, and he has to make it to the tower. Okay, so in between he and the tower are a whole bunch of guards, okay? So he has to fight his way through them, and he uses Excalibur to do this. But for some reason, he doesn't do it in the hurricane swiping people away like they were flies.
Yeah.
He just uses it like a really good, awesome swordsman, fighting them. This entire sequence is completely CGI, and it is horrible. It's like Neo fighting all of the Agent Smiths, where he like obviously looked like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it totally broke continuity.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was awful looking. Oh. It looked like that animated movie Beowulf. That is exactly what it looked like. Anyway, that gets done, and we see real Blondie again. And he's like standing there around all these dead guards. And then there's other guards that have now surrounded him. And they all lay down their swords and back away in awe of his prowess.
Yeah.
So now he runs into the tower. Now the castle that he just left is now being raided by the people. Down in the grotto, Jude Law finally gives his daughter to the witches.
Yeah.
And then his eyes go white.
Yes, Satan? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You sounded like someone else.
So, Blondie is now in the tower, and he's brought the sword in with him, so now tower starts lighting up, okay? There's like, runes carved everywhere, and they're all glowing white. And he's like standing there looking at all this stuff, like, wow, look at that. And then the camera pans around, and we see behind him the giant fucking Black Knight. Sitting there all huge and flaming, like ready to kill him. And it starts talking to him in like a big weird voice. And it's like, "You have won, have you?" And he's just standing there looking at him. And it's like, "Yeah, you have won. Now play with me." So the next fight begins. This is also all CGI, which is only noticeable when you're looking at Blondie.
Yeah.
Okay, because the other guy is obviously CGI, but that's forgiven because he's so huge and like inhuman.
Right.
So they're fighting, and this guy is a big fucker. And it turns out that their weapons are like kind of evenly matched. Mm-hmm. He ends up knocking Blondie's sword out of his hand, and he says to him, "I think that sword belongs to me now." Right then, Blondie gets a vision of the original knight from his dreams. Mm-hmm. And we see after the king had lost his sword, Jude Law was just like, "I think that sword belongs to me now, brother. All right? You're about to die.
Yeah.
I'm taking your kingdom." So then the kid hands the sword back, and the dad looks at the kid and he's like, you don't need to be afraid anymore, or something. And he's like, you don't need to look away anymore, Blondie. And in present time, we see grown-up Blondie looking down, and his father is on his knees in front of him, like looking into his eyes. Mm-hmm. His father says, the sword is yours, son. Take it. And now, Blondie looks at the big black knight, and he's like, all right, you know what? You wanted to know what gave me such drive, didn't you? You asked me that. It was you. Mm-hmm. And the knight is like, all like, and Blondie's like, you put me in that brothel. You put me on those streets. I am here because of you. And now they have more big CG fighting.
Yeah.
And he's slashing at the Black Knight. Now he's like getting the upper hand. Now he's like really feeling it, baby. He ends up cutting his double scythe in half and then stabbing the fucker right in the chest. And right then he says, you created me.
Fuck yeah.
So the Black Knight collapses, all the smoke happens, and it's Jude Law. And he's like, oh, God, I'm dying. Blondie walks up and he says something to him, and I was not able to make out what it was. Okay. I'm sorry.
Can I help you out?
Yeah, go ahead.
To be or not to be? Not to be.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So he says that, and then he kneels down and kisses Jude Law's hand right on the dick. So now he stands up, and his sword is glowing white, and he shoves it down into his sheath, and then the tower starts crumbling and burning. All of his friends outside are like watching it. And then they start worrying about him. Oh, God, is he going to be okay? Then the next day it cuts to a funeral. And I was like, oh, okay. They're all having a memorial service for him, and now he's going to come climbing out of the smoky rubble. And then the camera shows all of them together, and he's standing there with them. It's fine.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, oh. Turns out the funeral is for all of their dead friends. Yeah. So they have a whole bunch of funeral pyres out in the field in front of them. And they have a bunch of archers, and then each archer shoots a flaming arrow into one pyre. So they all go up at once.
Yeah.
So now everything's okay after that. And we see Blondie, and he's like in his throne room with some construction workers, and they're making something. They're building something together. Okay? But it's under a tarp. But it's real big, and it's round. Okay? Again, this scene is also intercut with another scene of the Vikings showing up to talk to this new king. And they're like, yeah, we certainly hope that you are prepared to honor the agreement that we had with the last guy. So you owe us a whole bunch of troops. And Blondie's standing there and he's like, nope. No way, man. Yeah, my king is not going to take very kindly to that. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to honor your agreement with the last guy. The last guy was an asshole. And when you are talking to me, you are talking to England, motherfucker. So here's what you can do. You can either get the fuck out of here and go tell your king what I just did to you, or you can make nice, and you can kneel right now. Because you're in England, baby. And then the Viking leader is like, he looks around at all of his big Viking buddies, and then he gets down on his motherfucking knees. So all the rest of them do, too. Then Blondie, who it turns out is actually a really cool guy, walks up to him, holds his hand out, helps him up, and he's like, now that that's out of the way, let's go eat, man. So it's like, all good. Yeah?
Making friends.
Yeah. So then it cuts back to, him making this big round thing under the tarp, right? And all of his buddies from throughout the movie, they walk in, like Goose Fat Bill and Shimon Hansu and everybody. They're like, what the hell are you building in here? And one of them's like, oh, what are you building, a merry-go-round? And another's like, oh, it must be a dance floor. But, how do you get in the middle of it? I don't understand. And he walks up to him, he pulls out his sword, and he's like, get on your knees. And they're all looking around like, what the hell? And then the one guy, just gets down on his knees. And then Blondie touches it to his shoulders, and he knights him. And he does it to each one of them in succession, and he says their names, and their names are like George. Oh, yeah, Asian George. He was knighted. Yeah. Okay. Tristan, Percival. with Goose Fat Bill, he's like, "Arise, Sir William." So, they get up, and now he still has to be sort of knighted or whatever. So he gives the sword to Goose Fat Bill, and he's like, "Would you, Bill?" The guy's like, "It would be my honor." So then Blondie gets down on his knees. Bill touches the sword to his shoulders, and he's like, "Arise, my king. King Blondie." So he stands up, and then he yanks the tarp off of the round thing, and he's like, "It's a table. You sit at it." And then it shows him being crowned king, and everybody's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, motherfucker." And he raises the sword up above the crowd, and the credits roll, baby.
All right.
Yep, that's it. Legend of the Sword on Movies with Ron.
Good job, man.
Thanks. What'd you think, Rick? I don't know.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. They didn't have to call it King Arthur.
I know.
Could have just been a different story. Would have made a good Conan reboot.
Absolutely.
Could have called it King Blondie.
It's like Star Wars and Game of Thrones mixed together.
Yeah.
Even that Goose Fat Bill guy is from Game of Thrones.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't watch it. Who is he in Game of Thrones?
He's like a Littlefinger or something like that. He runs a brothel.
Oh, okay. Are you saying it's the same actor? Are you looking it up?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Goose Fat Bill and King Arthur were in Queer as Folk together.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. He was also the terrorist in the airplane at the beginning of Dark Knight Rises with Bane.
Oh, holy shit. The Bane jacket.
Yeah.
The Bane jacket. He ended up in the Bane jacket when he began the final siege on the castle. Like when he was tripping balls.
Oh, yeah?
He was like, wearing Bane's jacket. I loaned it to him.
Excalibur.
But he wasn't wearing it for the final fight. He just he just threw it away. I don't understand. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to Movies with Ron. Now, what I want you to do is get on iTunes, write us a rating and review. Can be good, can be bad. Anything you want, guys. Be creative with it. We will read it on the air. We love those ratings and reviews.
Totally. Also, we're on Twitter and Instagram at Movies with Ron. Search for us on Facebook and movieswithron.com. All right, it's been fun.
Love you guys.
Take care.
Movies with Ron.
What was that? Drinking the what?
The Guyana grape. That was, we might not want to repeat the Guyana grape thing. It's kind of a tasteless joke.
Well,
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
We're good.
what is that shit? Anyway. It's what they drink?
It's from the Jonestown Massacre.
Why is it Guyana grape?
Because Guyana, French Guyana, is where Jonestown was when all of those hundreds of people drank cyanide Kool-Aid, which was grape flavored, and then all died. Suicide.
All right.
Dad was like, yeah, that happened when I was in the Navy. I knew some of the guys that had to go and clean up the bodies.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah. You want a rabbit hole of depression?
Nope.
Look up some documentaries on YouTube.
Nope.